Hey guys, it's ZeldaDiscussion, and this is our first mailbag and video. And we're going to try to produce videos every 1 to 2 weeks until the school year starts. And then when the school year starts, we're going to be producing them every 1-2 months. But the quality will improve at that point, and we'll have maybe multiple videos every month. I don't know. We'll let you know.
Alright, now you see, since this is our first mailbag, we didn't really have a lot of questions, but the ones that we did get, we are going to try and answer with as much sincerity and in-depth as we can. So just kind of sit back and enjoy the mailbag, and we hope that we can answer some of your questions. Now you see, one question that we get all the time, because it's so very common, is what is your favorite Zelda game? Well, to be completely honest, me and Matt actually have the exact same favorite Zelda game.
The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time for the N64. Just the best game ever. I cannot describe how amazing this game is. I'm lucky enough to own the boxed collector's edition version with the where is it? With the golden cartridge, and yeah, that makes it a lot of fun to play. But it's different themes, various glitches, and whatever.
And I'm even luckier to have that same game sealed, bitch!
Yeah, well, who can beat the game in 5 hours, 56 minutes, and 35 seconds?
Anyways, in addition to being our favorite Zelda game ever, we also have the exact same console list. The seven Zelda games that are on the major consoles, which include Legend of Zelda, Zelda 2, A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, etc. You get the point. We have the exact same list in descending order, so we already told you that Ocarina of Time is our number one, as is most of the Zelda fan bases. So we are going to tell you our list from 7 to 2 because we have the exact same.
Alright, and so number 6, Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. And a little fact about this that some people just don't know for some reason is that this is the only Zelda game that does not have The Legend of Zelda before it. And yeah, but Zelda 2, the reason that we have it so low is just because the other games beat it. It's not because we hate the game, we don't hate it because it's the black sheep of the series. We think it's an amazing game, it's a great add-on to the series, and another thing that a lot of people will say is Zelda 2 broke protocol for the Zelda series, and that's not true. At the time, there was only one Zelda game. Then they come out with a second one. There was no basis for the Zelda series, so Miyamoto and his team just went off with another thing, and they came out with a lot of good stuff, like the magic meter and so on.
And I'd also like to point out that Matt is actually guilty for once saying that it broke protocol at one point. But then after I played through it and actually managed to beat it, I'm actually one of the people that can claim they beat it. I told Matt to play through it again, and well, he told me he found it very addicting. And so he just decided to play through it and realized, like a lot of the Zelda games, more particularly Majora's Mask, that there's just more than meets the eye.
And it's impossible.
Hey, it's impossible to the average gamer. I'm above average.
Anyone who likes Zelda is above average. We'll just keep it at that.
Couldn't agree with you more there.
Alright, number 6.
Alright, number 6, Twilight Princess. Now, I know what you're thinking, why the hell is that so low? But let me give you my own heartfelt opinion on it. It is an amazing game, incredible game. It is absolutely out of this world. But we just feel the other Zelda games are just somewhat better. But regardless of this, it still has an amazing storyline with some of the best graphics we've ever seen. Well, for Zelda that is. It also has such a huge immersive world. And all these different amazing dungeon designs and all these different kinds of weapons that you can use. It's just so much fun to play. Now, I admit myself, I used to kind of dislike the game, as did Matt. But you see, for the most part, when we think of the game, we think of its fanboys.
And let me take it from there. The fanboys, the Twilight Princess fanboys, yeah, they're Zelda fans, but they are the biggest graphic whores you'll ever see. All they will say is that Twilight Princess is one of the best reasons why it's such a good game is because it has amazing graphics. And it's okay, it's a cool add-on, but no, graphics don't make a game. gameplay, story, and so on makes what the game is like. I mean, Twilight Princess, fantastic game. It had all those elements, but not to the extent that previous Zelda games did have. I mean, its graphics were nice, it was a good addition, but I mean, even if the game had Wind Waker graphics, if the game was just looked like the N64 again, it'd still be an amazing game. Nonetheless, it wouldn't be any different.
So yeah, that did sound a little negative for a second there, but it really is an incredible game. Just in clarity, it sucks compared to the overextension of hype that it gets.
And number 5 is The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. I've always loved The Wind Waker. It's always been an amazing game, and I think it's the 3rd best Zelda game music-wise, with Majora's Mask being ahead of it, and then Ocarina of Time at number 1. The game, I have a very nostalgic connection to it because I got the game back in 2nd grade on opening day. I remember watching my brother play it for hours, and overall it was just a lot of fun. And I went and revisited the game about a year and a half ago, and I just remembered how amazing it is. I mean, the one flaw that I found with the game is the enormous Triforce hunt at the end, and that's where I am right now.
Even that, you can just look it up.
You can look it up, but I mean, it's just still really, really tedious. I mean, what, 398 rupees per Triforce chart? And I think that's...
Yeah, it is a little tedious. First time going through it, though, it's kind of exciting, but if you're going for a speed runner, you might as well just look it up. Yeah. But if you can count that whole tediousness out of it, it really is an unbelievable game with an incredible soundtrack. Anyway, moving right along, number 4, the original Legend of Zelda. Words cannot describe this masterpiece. It is not only the most revolutionary, it is, in my opinion, one of the most revolutionary games of all time, but it is also one of the greatest. Like, there is very few games that have the tone that you can just, like, be put in the middle of nowhere, being told absolutely nothing of what to do, and just, like, rely on your killer instinct to just go out and beat the game. That's what makes it challenging, that's what makes it fun.
In my opinion, The Legend of Zelda, the original, is the greatest Nintendo Entertainment System game ever. I know Steve disagrees with me there, but...
Super Mario Bros. 3.
I can understand where he's coming from there, but I honestly think Zelda 1 beats it. I mean, just everything about the game's a masterpiece. Mario 3 is amazing too, but I've always been better at 3D Mario than 2D Mario, but that's an entirely different discussion.
So anyway, getting back on track with the whole Zelda thing, Matt, take it from here, number 3.
Number 3, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. This game was a perfect blend between Zelda 1 and Zelda 2. And a lot of you might be saying right now, wait, how did Zelda 2 have anything to do with A Link to the Past? It looks nothing like it. Well, it gave a lot of new game ideas and functions, like the magic meter, the hammer, and the Titan's Mitt that were put into the game. And the magic meter has appeared in every single Zelda game since Zelda 2, except for Twilight Princess. I mean, another reason why we don't exactly like it as much. But, so on. A Link to the Past, amazing game. Amazing for its time. I can understand why some people will put it above Ocarina of Time, but kinda.
And actually, for the record, many of the themes you hear in Ocarina of Time originate in A Link to the Past, such as Zelda's theme, and Zelda's theme, Ganon's theme, etc. They've become tradition just because of that game in particular.
Alright, and
to
you.
Finally on our list, number 2, Majora's Mask. Now, both of us have had a love-hate relationship with this game in the past. We absolutely love it to pieces, but we didn't always feel that way, and Matt, I'll let you take over right here.
About a year or a year and a half ago, probably back in January, ever since the game came out, I very strongly disliked the game. I thought it was so much different than any Zelda game I've ever played. I was like, there's no Zelda in this game. I took a very casual look at the game. But ever since about, I don't know, Steve and I started to really get into the Zelda series, really started to look back at it. And then one day I just popped in Majora's Mask saying, oh, what the hell, let's give it a try. So I tried it, I played through it, and within the first 25 minutes, I found myself hooked. There was something about those first 25 minutes, just beating the Skull Kid, learning the entire process just to get to the Skull Kid was rather drastic. It was like huge. And then I found myself faking being sick from school just so I could come home and play the game. I did that 3 days in a row just because I wanted to beat the game, and I did that. And then after I beat the game and saw how amazing it was, I determined it was my second favorite Zelda game ever, and at the time, my second favorite game ever. And now that's been changed. But I had to tell Steve.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something. The day that he told me, I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because in my opinion, it was the very bottom of the barrel as well. When I heard that, he sent it to me through text. I started cracking up laughing. Like, no joke. I was cracking up laughing for like 2 minutes, but then I realized he wasn't joking either. So then I was like, okay, this joke has gone on far enough. So what I did was I put the game inside my Nintendo 64 within like the next 5 minutes, not even kidding. And I played it, and around that same time frame of 25 minutes into the game, it just connected with me. Like, there was just something about it I had never seen before. It had this tone that I could like never sense before. Like, it's such a refreshing change from just the save Zelda every single game kind of thing. It's out of this world. It is an absolutely incredible game with an incredible soundtrack, incredible depth, and the characters, I'm not even kidding with this, some of the characters actually like kept me in my bed awake at night thinking about their backstories and just like thinking about how they tie in with the overall plot.
The relationship between Cafe and Andrew after doing the entire trade sequence and everything is the most emotional thing I've ever seen in any Zelda game or video game ever. I mean, when Cafe and Andrew say that they're just gonna wait for the morning when the moon's crashing, that's just like, that's pure joy. That's a sad moment. I mean, just like looking at it, just shows that they don't care that they're gonna die. They're just happy that they're together and that they're in love and things like that. And it's just a very deep moment in film series that we've never seen before. And I just love it. But without further ado, we'll go on to number one, which you know is Ocarina of Time. And
words can't do this game justice.
You don't want to get us started on Ocarina of Time, where
we've talked about it before, and if we had to talk about this game in depth,
we'd have another 30 videos.
Yeah, there's just so much we could say about that game that that would take like an entire other discussion. So without further ado, let's move on to question 2. All right. The second question that we got was what was the first Zelda game that you've ever played? And like the answer to the first question, me and Matt actually have the same answer.
Yep.
Ocarina of Time.
Yep. We each kind of have our own little individual story on how we played it. Back in the day, 1998, my dad actually would bring me and my older brother Mike down to a Blockbuster to rent N64 games, and because Blockbuster did that back then, which was pretty awesome. And then we'd rent the game, we'd see if we liked it enough, and we'd get the game if we liked it enough. So we rented Ocarina of Time because we were like, hey look, a Zelda game. We had A Link to the Past and Zelda 1, but I hadn't played them, I just watched them. And then my brother popped it in when we got home. It was really dark. I just remember, it was my first memory of Ocarina of Time, and it's my earliest video game memory. We were sitting in a dark room in my living room, and my brother was just standing in the Kokiri Forest, and that's my earliest memory of Ocarina of Time. But then I played it. I played through the whole game when I was 3, and well, obviously with my mom reading me the guide, because no 3-year-old could just do it. Yeah, it was my first game ever, and it was instantly my favorite game ever, and it's never been changed. It's been 13 strong years now, pretty much, that we've been in love with the game. Well, I have. But.
Well, as far as my story goes, when I was 3 years old, yeah, that's right, I was 3 years old. When I was 3 years old when the game actually came out, and on the very release date that it came out in America, it was like November something, I think, maybe October.
November 23rd, 1998.
Okay.
November 21st, 1998.
So yeah, November 23rd, 1998. I do remember it was the exact day it came out. My brother got it, and he brought it home, and he really wanted to get me into playing video games, and so I watched him play it, and he's such a skilled gamer. He ended up getting like 3/4 of the way through the game within the first day.